Tjasa Zajc, and she's going to talk a little bit about now faces of digital health. And welcome, Tjasa.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
That's fantastic. And could you give us a brief introduction of yourself and a little bit of your background?
Okay, so very briefly, I've been a chronic patient for the last 20 years. I'm a journalist by background. I work as a business developer for a healthcare IT company called Better, and I've been running Faces of Digital Health for the last 6 years. And the focus of the show is really to look at how different healthcare systems around the world adopt technology. So I'm really interested in what are the cultural elements, what kind of impact does the structure of the healthcare systems have on the way that healthcare is digitized and the services that people can access through digital health innovation.
That's a fantastic background and certainly appropriate for the conversation today about HIMSS and what you saw at HIMSS and what you spoke about at HIMSS as well. Give us a little bit of a summary. What did you speak about there? What was your topic about when you spoke there last week?
So I was hosting the whole pre-conference patient experience forum and moderated a session on how are different healthcare systems around the world adopting virtual health. And then the next day, I also participated and moderated the behavioral health view from the top panel session. So basically at the patient experience forum, we highlighted some of the kind of critical points in healthcare digitalization from the patient perspective. So Aaron Miri, for example, from Baptist Health mentioned how they're developing digital services based on the needs that they detect with patients. And he said that it really pays off to just, give people what they ask you for, because that can increase efficiency. They've got 5 apps so far that help them track patients even when they're outside the hospital, and that can help them detect potential challenges with healthcare of those patients early on while they're not in the hospital. At the same time, in the virtual care session, what I thought was super interesting was that we had Mira Kang, who is the Chief Medical Information Officer of the Samsung Medical Center from South Korea. And actually in South Korea, before the pandemic, telemedicine was illegal. And as Mira Kang said, it's probably going to become illegal again because the pandemic ended. And that's due to several reasons. On the one hand, the challenges with the payments, doctors worry that online sessions wouldn't be paid as well as the in-person settings. At the same time, South Korea is not that big of a country, so the access to healthcare institutions is very good. So 2 to 4 miles is the furthest that the person needs to go to access healthcare facilities. And obviously there's political and healthcare structure systems issues that would need to be addressed to change this rule. And at the same time, what I thought was the most important session throughout the whole day was when patient advocates took the stage and highlighted the challenges, especially with AI and where patients fall through the cracks. At HIMSS, probably there wasn't a session where AI or GPT-4 or ChatGPT weren't mentioned. And here, patients mentioned things like how challenging it is because, for example, insurance companies are already using AI to make it easier to deny claims. And, when a claim for insurance and the coverage is denied, that causes huge amounts of work for patients and doctors if they want to just complain or file a complaint against that decision. So several things that I could and can talk about more if you'd like.
No, it's fantastic, and that's really impressive. By the way, congratulations on such a tremendous showing at HIMSS. From your perspective and all of your purview of the meeting and everything that was going on, what were some of the hottest topics that you heard about, and what do you think we're going to continue to hear about more for the rest of this year?
Oh, definitely. AI, as I mentioned, and GPT-4, we see some companies such as Microsoft and Nuance already trying to embed that into the clinical practice. And there's a lot of excitement happening about how this could be used to kind of decrease the bureaucratic burden on clinicians with summarizing the patient information, patient data, maybe pulling more information closely together, structuring the data in a faster manner. But at the same time, I'm kind of happy to see that there's also a lot of hesitancy because we really still don't quite know what the consequences could be. As we know, the specific of healthcare is that we are dealing with patient lives. So any patient harm that's caused is problematic. And to a certain degree, I guess, we know that medication or just medical errors are a huge problem in healthcare. As was mentioned also on the patient experience forum, we actually haven't had much progress in the medication error space since 1991, when, as mentioned by Echal Zimlichman from Sheba Medical Center, in 1991, kind of healthcare recognized that patient harm is a problem. Prior to that, it was just kind of accepted as a standard of practice. You will inevitably harm some patients and you will help some patients. So that's just how it goes. But just addressing the fact that maybe we should focus on where harm happens and if we can reduce it was an important milestone in the development of healthcare. And unfortunately, research shows that we haven't made much progress in reducing the harm. Now, when you add AI into that, and when things like denying payments for procedures, making errors in what kind of treatments people receive, that's where things really become problematic. So I hope that the topics around the ethics and use of AI will continue, especially since, as patient advocates also warned, there's a lot of errors already in medical records of patients. They often can't correct those errors. And if you base AI algorithms on just poor data, you're going to get poor results. Now, one of the things that I'm kind of wondering, though, is that with natural language processing, could AI actually help correct some of the errors in diagnosis that you have? Because, the doctor needs to decide on what the diagnosis of the patient is. But maybe AI could actually go through all the medical notes and what the patient said and actually suggest maybe this isn't the right problem. Maybe you should actually look into something else. So that's kind of where I hope that AI would also go.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I think, certainly there's a lot of discussions around that all over the world. And so that's certainly, important to hear that it was happening at the HIMSS meeting as well. And any final comments, any summarizations that you'd like to leave our audience with before we sign off?
Well, I think, with the rise of technology, it's important for us to really be informed and to kind of be mindful and to question the care we receive, especially as it's getting more and more automated. And I always like to say that as patients, we need to remember three questions that are often mentioned by Talia Miron-Schatz, who's a behavioral health scientist, and that is that whichever healthcare visit or medical visit you have, always remember three questions, but you really need to kind of repeat them before you get into the whole medical situation to remember them when you have to. And those three questions are, what are the risks, what are the benefits, and what are the alternatives? And, you can apply that to when the doctor proposes a treatment, when the doctor proposes a specific drug, or when the doctor proposes a specific procedure, or in the future, an algorithm. So I think we really need to just have those three questions in mind. So when we decide for something together with the doctor, that we are really informed about what the consequences might be.
That's really important. That's absolutely spot on. And again, great to have you on the program today. Thank you very much for joining, and looking forward to having you back again soon.